when a shopper clicks buy on your website, they aren't just buying a product, they are buying a promise. They are buying the promise that their products will arrive quickly, safely, and without hassle. And if you've been running your store for a while now, you'll know that shipping isn't just a backroom task, but it's actually the moment that your online brand becomes real to your customers. But here's a hard truth in 2025. If you're still switching between tabs, comparing prices between UPS and USPS, and manually typing in addresses, you're actually losing time and losing customers. And once you're shipping more than a handful of items per week, shipping software becomes a necessity, not just a nice to have. And that's why in this video, I'm going to break down the best e-commerce shipping software in 2025. I've tested some of the top tools and I'll show you which ones are the best for beginners, which ones are best for big businesses, and I'll go through two of the tools that are my favorites, with one of them likely being the only one you'll ever need. So let's dive straight in. Now, just before we go into the actual tools themselves, I thought I would go through 7 of the must-haves that you should be looking for in your e-commerce shipping software. Now, number 1 is multi-carrier support. You want to make sure that you're able to compare shipping rates between different carriers. You know, it's not just UPS and USPS. In different countries like the UK where I'm from, you've got things like Royal Mail and Every. And if you're going even further afield, you need to be able to compare shipping rates in local countries. Plus, you might even find that you're not getting the best rates, even if you're just shipping within the United States already. So it's good to be able to have that multi-carrier support so that you can compare rates within the tool itself. Number 2 is automations. Now, if your tool doesn't have any automations, then you could be wasting time doing tasks manually that could be done in the background whilst you're not having to do anything yourself, which is a massive bonus. Number 3 is a unified dashboard. Now, you want to be able to see all your orders from eBay, Amazon, Etsy, wherever they're coming from. You want to be able to see all your orders unified in one place. And that's what the best tools have, is a unified dashboard. Number 4 is international shipping tools. It's not just about the shipping rates I mentioned before, it's also taxes and customs. Now, the best tools help you to manage that and also help to give customers the best view of the sort of rates they should be facing when they're ordering from your business. Number 5 is branding. Now, do you want to be able to create branded returns pages, branded emails? Do you want to be able to give the customers more of a unique experience to your brand rather than something generic? That's why branding is so important. And number 6 is returns. Now, returns are an unfortunate part of every e-commerce business, but you can actually improve your customers' expectations of your business and give them a better customer experience by having a great return service. And the best e-commerce tools will enable you to delight your customers with their returns process so they'll come back and use you again. And number 7 is reporting. It's not just the analytics and the front-end dashboard, it's also being able to see things like how many orders you've been able to place from different countries, or how many returns are coming from particular locations, so that you can start to make smart decisions about your business. Now, let's go straight into the tools and have a look at some of the must-haves and whether they relate to all of these tools. Now, my favorite of all the tools is a tool called Shippo. Now, Shippo is an e-commerce shipping platform which enables you to track all of your orders from essentially everywhere you want to track. It includes Amazon, it includes Etsy, which is slightly different from all of the other tools. Plus, it includes things like Shopify, WooCommerce, and all of the other main platforms. Now, the best thing about it is you can see all your shipments and your orders in one place, just from one dashboard. It doesn't matter where they're coming from. Plus, it's really easy to get set up. As soon as I integrated it with my Shopify and my Amazon account, I could see my orders pulled in automatically, which is amazing. Now, you can also upload your orders manually by using a spreadsheet. So if you've got any tools which don't already integrate with Shippo, then you can integrate those by just uploading the spreadsheet, and it will fit the columns to the relevant columns that you have in Shippo so that everything can be tracked in the same way. And another great thing about it is it has quite simple but very powerful automations. It uses if and then functions to work out what sort of automations you want to create. So for example, you could say if a package is above 5 kilograms, then use the heavy packaging template, and you can preset those templates in the back end. Or it could be if you're shipping a product to a particular country, such as France, then you need to include custom form package, for example, and you can preset up those templates. Now, these automations are very easy to get set up, but they're extremely powerful because it means a lot of the functions can be done in the back end whilst you're not looking. I think what I like most about Shippo, it blends the simplicity of the very simple platforms like Pirate Ship with the power of very complex platforms like ShipStation at a lower price. And for nearly all businesses, I think it is the perfect solution because it has all of those automations, it has amazing reporting tools, and it has all of those integrations. It does nearly everything that any business is going to need. Now, unless you've got very complicated automations that you need getting set up, or maybe you've got a team which already handles automations for you and creates all your shipping labels, then maybe another tool might be better, like ShipStation. But for nearly all businesses, Shippo does nearly all of the things you need it to, plus it's cheaper and it's much more easy to get set up. I got set up with Shippo in only a few minutes, whereas ShipStation was a bit more complicated and it took longer for me to understand the automation rules. Now, number 2 is one I've already mentioned, which is ShipStation. Now, ShipStation is quite similar to Shippo in that it's an online web application, so all of your orders are tracked through an app which you log into through the website. Now, it's quite nice to use. It's very easy to read the reporting. The dashboard looks quite similar to the one that Shippo has. And you can create all of your orders in one place. And like Shippo, you can batch create labels. So say you have 100 orders come in overnight. You can batch create labels the next morning so that all the products get sent out. And that's very similar to how Shippo works. The main difference between Shippo and ShipStation is that ShipStation has quite complex automations. Now, for big businesses, this is great because you can set very specific automations for very specific types of products. But for nearly all businesses, this is overkill. And I think that the learning curve with ShipStation is quite a lot higher than with Shippo. Shippo is very easy. You plug in your softwares that you use, like Spotify, Amazon, things like that. All of the orders get populated. You start creating batch labels. You create very simple automations. You can get this thing sort of set up and ready to go in a few minutes. ShipStation was much more of a lengthy process, and learning the automations was a bit of a learning curve. And I know quite a lot about creating automations with shipping software, and even I found it a little bit complicated. The other thing, and this isn't something that I personally experienced myself, but there are a lot of reports on places like Reddit and Trustpilot that there's downtime on ShipStation, which means that sometimes orders get missed or there's problems that happen. So it's important to read the reviews because you'll catch problems that maybe you haven't just experienced firsthand yourself, but you can see where trends are going in the market. Overall, I think for big teams, and maybe if you've got your own shipping team or your own operations team, then ShipStation can be a good option because they'll already understand how to create these sort of complex automations to keep your business running. But if you don't have that, then I think it's probably quite overkill, and Shippo does 90% of the tasks, but with less cost and less complexity. Now, number 3 is Easyship. Now, the problem that Easyship tries to solve is international shipping. So if you're shipping your products worldwide, it's quite good. It has a lot of integrations with very big shipping partners, including some quite niche ones like New Zealand Post and Singapore Post, which means that if you are really shipping your products to the entire world, it could be a good option to look at. It also shows customers a landed cost at the checkout, so they can see exactly what their price is going to be once you include shipping plus things like import duties. Now, this is great for the customers because it means they're not going to get any surprises at the door. When you get the letter through the post to say, your parcel's in the warehouse, you can collect it once you've paid your import tax. It's really frustrating when that happens. Now, on the downside, again, talking about the customer reputation, when we look at Trustpilot, it's only got 1.9 stars on Trustpilot out of 5 possible stars. So it's got a really bad reputation. Its customer service is apparently really letting it down. When I was using it, I found it to be quite clunky and difficult to get set up, and much more complicated than a tool like Shippo or ShipStation. Now, the international features were good, but again, Shippo or ShipStation do nearly all of these features, and the pricing is almost exactly the same as it is with Shippo or ShipStation. So you're taking a bit more of a risk when you're going for a tool like Easyship compared to something like Shippo or ShipStation, because for the same price, you could get something that's much more powerful and much more reliable. Number 4 is Sendcloud. Now, if you've ever started your business in Europe or the UK or anywhere around here, then you'll know that Sendcloud is one of the biggest names in e-commerce shipping software around here. It's really good at understanding things like internal VAT rules between different European countries and how the borders work between places like the UK, Switzerland and the European Union. It has a really nice checkout widget which plugs directly into your website. So if you're using WordPress or WooCommerce or even Shopify, it has a checkout plugin which plugs straight in, and it looks really nice. And I think this is one of its main plus sides. So it's worth checking out just for that one feature alone. But the downside is it isn't really very good at doing US shipments. It kind of lets itself down a little bit with US shipments. Plus, it doesn't have a free option, whereas the other tools have free options, which means that you have to pay even just to experiment with it. Now, the pricing is not too bad. Once you get set up, it sort of starts around $33 a month compared to Shippo, which is $17 a month, and ShipStation, which is around $19 a month. But for the features, you get much more with Shippo or ShipStation compared to Sendcloud, plus you've got that US coverage. It's seen as a bit more of a lightweight option in my mind. I think that Shippo and ShipStation are the two tools which really give the most value compared to what their cost is. Number 5 is ShippingEasy. Now, if you're really just a beginner and you've only used a tool like PirateShip before, ShippingEasy might be a good option. It can be quite overwhelming when you look at things like the ShipStation dashboard and see how many options there are, see what sorts of automations there are. That can feel quite overwhelming. I know exactly how you feel. Pirate Ship is so easy. You basically just click a button and stuff happens. Now, ShippingEasy is kind of a halfway point between Shippo or ShipStation and Pirate Ship. It's simple, it has a few automations, and it kind of gets you on the road of starting to understand how international shipping works. But what I would say is, if you are going to start going for a tool like one of these, I think you're better off going for one of the more advanced tools straight away, because that way you can start to get to understand the rules a bit more. And personally, I think you might find ShippingEasy slightly restrictive after maybe a year of using it, because whilst it is a bit more simple to use, you might find it a bit restrictive in what it can do. Its automations are quite limited, and also it doesn't have as many integrations. So if you are growing, you might find yourself using extra APIs like Zapier and things like that to try and integrate the tool with your platforms. And the last tool we're going to talk about is EasyPost. Now, EasyPost is a slightly different one. This is much more for enterprise level businesses who are looking to create more of a custom option for their website. You really need a dev team to make any of this work, because everything has to be completely customized for your setup. It's more the sort of tool that you're doing, thousands and thousands of orders per month. And what's good about it is you basically pay for each call you make to the software. So every time you want to create a shipping label, it charges you 1 or 2 cents. Every time you want to check an order status, it charges you 1 or 2 cents as well. And these are called API calls. And the reason it works out as a bit cheaper is because if you are doing lots of these a month, then the pricing for each of the API calls is less usually than what you're paying as a monthly fee once you start paying for sort of enterprise level ShipStation and things like that, which can be sort of thousands of dollars a month. So it can be quite good to do it, but you do need a dev team in order to implement it. But on the plus side, it's completely customizable. It essentially does exactly what you want. You can custom create your own automations. You can integrate it with other tools that you have. So it does everything you need to do, but it is obviously much more complicated to get set up. Now, I thought I'd just finish with giving just a little bit about the pricing for each of the tools. So for the first one, Shippo, you've got a free plan. So it's great. You can experiment with it. You can try it out without any financial cost at all. The monthly prices start at around $17 a month, $17.99 a month, and they go up to around $199 a month. And it scales with the amount of orders you're getting. So when you only have a few orders, it could be free. When you've got maybe 100 orders a month, it's $17.99 a month. And then it goes up to $199 a month when you start having thousands of orders a month. So it scales with your business, which is a great model. ShipStation has a very similar model. It has a free plan too, but it allows you less orders on the free plan. And its prices start at $14.99 a month. But that's only if you buy annually. It's more expensive if you pay month by month. But the pricing goes up to thousands of dollars a month when you've got more orders, so it becomes more expensive than Shippo does once you start scaling. Easyship is a nice one to use because, again, it's got a free plan. Pricing starts at $29 a month, and it goes up to $199 a month when you have lots of orders as well. Sendcloud doesn't have any free plan, as you mentioned. The prices start at $33 a month, so it's quite a bit more expensive, especially when you consider it's got that bad reputation. And it goes all the way up to $799 a month, so it is quite expensive as well. So it is a bit of a risk to go with Sendcloud. ShippingEasy also has a free plan. It's free for the first 25 orders that you place, and then it goes up to $189 a month once you have lots of orders. So it's got similar pricing to tools like Shippo, but it has less features, so you're paying the same for less. And EasyPost doesn't have a monthly fee. You pay for each of your API calls. So again, it basically just scales with your business. The more orders you place, then the more you pay. So you only really pay when you get an order in, which is quite nice. So out of all these tools, which one should you choose? Now, whilst all of the tools I've showed you today have their pros and cons, for the vast majority of you, the only 2 tools I'd ever recommend would be Shippo and ShipStation. And the way you decide between the 2 of them basically depends on the scale of your business. For most of you, I'd be recommending Shippo because it does nearly all of the features that ShipStation does for a lower cost and less complexity. Now, especially if you're just one person running every part of the business yourself, having that less complexity is going to be a game changer. You don't want to be learning very complex automations with terms you don't really understand or need to understand. Whereas if you're doing thousands and thousands of orders per month, maybe ShipStation could become a better option for you. It has really good features and the automations are great, but they are a bit more complicated to understand. I'd say unless you're really experienced with shipping or you've got a operations team who can handle it for you, then ShipStation might be a bit difficult or it might seem overkill. And that's why I like Shippo so much. It hits that sweet spot of simple plus complexity, which means that it can scale with your business as you grow. If you're starting to get more orders, it charges you more as you grow. If you're starting out quite small, it's free or very cheap per month so that you can have those good automations without all of that complexity. And so if you want to start streamlining your e-commerce shipping, I'd go with Shippo every single time. I hope you've enjoyed this video. If you'd like to see more videos like this, then subscribe to the Digital Merchant channel and leave your comments in the chat below.